My brother Mike and I have always been close, despite our different personalities. He's always been the charming one, the life of the party, while I'm more reserved and practical. Our different approaches to life never affected our relationship, until now. Mike has been married to Elaine for 5 years. They have a perfect-looking marriage that our whole family admires. They live in a beautiful house in the suburbs, take exotic vacations twice a year, and generally seem to have it all. Elaine comes from a wealthy family, and her father gave them a substantial down payment for their house as a wedding gift. Her family connections also helped Mike land his current job at a prestigious financial firm. The only cloud in their perfect life is that they've been trying to have a baby for the past 3 years without success. They've gone through several rounds of fertility treatments, which have been emotionally draining for both of them, especially Elaine. Mike has confided in me about how difficult this process has been, and I've tried to be supportive, listening to his frustrations and concerns. Last month, Mike called me asking to meet urgently. He sounded distressed, which wasn't like him, so I agreed to meet him at a bar near my apartment right away. When I arrived, he had already downed 2 whiskeys and looked like he hadn't slept in days. "I messed up, Jack," he said as soon as I sat down. "I really messed up this time." Over the next hour, he confessed that he'd had a one-night stand with a waitress named Kelly from a restaurant near his office. It happened after a work party about 3 months ago when he'd had too much to drink. According to Mike, it was a one-time mistake that he'd regretted immediately. "I've never done anything like this before," he insisted, his voice breaking. "I love Elaine. I don't know what I was thinking." I was disappointed in him, but willing to listen. Everyone makes mistakes, and Mike seemed genuinely remorseful. But then he dropped the real bombshell. Kelly was pregnant, and she was keeping the baby. "She's 4 months along," he said, staring into his empty glass. "She's already had the genetic testing. It's definitely mine." My stomach sank as I processed this information. "Does Elaine know?" He shook his head vehemently. "No, and she can't find out. It would destroy her, Jack. You know how hard the fertility treatments have been on her. Finding out I got someone else pregnant would break her completely." I nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "So what are you going to do?" "I've been thinking about it nonstop," he said. "I'll support the child financially, of course. I've already told Kelly I'll set up payments for child support. But I can't be involved beyond that. I can't risk Elaine finding out." I frowned. "The child is still going to exist, Mike. You can't just pretend it doesn't." "That's where you come in," he said, looking at me with desperate eyes. "I need you to say the baby is yours." I nearly choked on my drink. "What?" "Just hear me out," he pleaded. "Kelly doesn't have a problem with it. She doesn't want to break up a marriage either. She just wants financial support for the baby. If everyone thinks the baby is yours, I can still help financially without Elaine ever finding out." I stared at him in disbelief. "You want me to claim paternity for your child? Are you insane?" "Please, Jack," he begged. "I can't lose Elaine. Her family would cut me off completely. I'd lose my job, my house, everything." "What about the child?" I asked. "Have you thought about what this means for your son or daughter, growing up thinking their uncle is actually their father and their real father is just some distant relative who sends money occasionally?" Mike looked down, avoiding my gaze. "It's not ideal, I know. But what's the alternative? A broken home, a bitter divorce, a child caught in the middle of all that ugliness? At least this way, everyone is taken care of." "Everyone except the child," I pointed out. "And what happens when the kid grows up and inevitably learns the truth? Because secrets like this always come out eventually." "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," he said dismissively. "Right now, I just need to keep my marriage intact." I shook my head, already knowing my answer. "I'm sorry, Mike, I can't do this. It's wrong on so many levels. You need to take responsibility for your actions and tell Elaine the truth." His face hardened. "So, that's it? You won't help me, after everything we've been through as brothers?" "This isn't helping you," I replied firmly. "This is enabling you to avoid the consequences of your actions, while creating an even bigger mess down the line. As your brother, the most helpful thing I can do is tell you to face this head-on." We argued for another hour, with Mike alternating between begging, guilt-tripping, and angry accusations. Eventually, he stormed out, leaving me with the bill and a heavy heart. I hoped he would come to his senses over the next few days and approach the situation more maturely. Instead, I received a call from our mother 2 days later. "How could you do this to your brother?" she demanded, without even saying hello. "Do what?" I asked, confused. "Get some waitress pregnant and then refuse to take responsibility. Mike told us everything. He said he offered to help you financially and even keep it quiet from your dating life, and you still refused to acknowledge your own child." I was stunned into silence. Mike had completely reversed the story, telling our family that I was the one who had gotten Kelly pregnant and that he was trying to help me cover it up. "That's not true," I finally managed to say. "Mom, Mike is the father. He wanted me to pretend to be the dad so Elaine wouldn't find out he cheated." "Don't lie to me," she snapped. "Mike would never cheat on Elaine. They're trying to have a baby, for goodness sake." "Exactly," I said, "which is why it's so devastating that he did this, but I'm not going to claim paternity for his child. That's insane." My mother didn't believe me. Neither did my father when I tried to explain the situation to him. Mike had gotten to them first with his version of events, and they had bought it completely. In their eyes, Mike was the responsible brother trying to help me clean up my mess, and I was the ungrateful one refusing his generous offer. Over the next few weeks, the situation only got worse. Mike told the same story to our extended family, our childhood friends, and even some of my colleagues who knew him. Suddenly, I was getting judgmental looks and awkward questions everywhere I went. People I had known for years were looking at me differently, questioning my character and my integrity. When I tried to defend myself by telling the truth, most people didn't believe me. Mike and Elaine had such a picture-perfect relationship in everyone's eyes that the idea of him cheating seemed far less plausible than me fathering a child and then trying to escape responsibility. The final straw came when Mike and Elaine hosted a family dinner last weekend. I didn't want to go, but my parents insisted, saying I needed to make amends with my brother. When I arrived, I was met with cold stares from Elaine's family, who had apparently also been told that I was the irresponsible one in this scenario. During dinner, Mike raised his glass for a toast and announced that he and Elaine had finally received good news. After years of trying, Elaine was pregnant. The table erupted in cheers and congratulations while I sat there in shock. After dinner, I cornered Mike in the kitchen. "Is she really pregnant, or is this just another lie?" "It's true," he said, unable to hide a smug smile. 6 weeks along, the fertility treatments finally worked. "And what about Kelly and your other child?" His expression darkened. "I'm handling it. Kelly's agreed to move to another state after the baby is born. I've set up an account to send her money monthly. No one ever needs to know." "Except me," I pointed out. "And now you've painted me as the bad guy to our entire family." He shrugged. "I needed a cover story. It'll blow over eventually." I left the dinner early, ignoring my mother's disapproving look and my father's request to stop being so dramatic. When I got home, I had a message from Kelly, whom I'd never met, asking to talk. Apparently, Mike had given her my number in case of emergency. We met for coffee the next day. Kelly was visibly pregnant, probably around 5 months along now. She was young, maybe mid-20s, and seemed nervous but determined. "I just wanted to meet you," she said. "Mike talks about you a lot, says you're the moral compass of the family." I almost laughed at the irony. Did he also tell you that he's blaming me for the pregnancy? That our entire family thinks I'm the father who's refusing to take responsibility? Her eyes widened. "No, he didn't mention that part." We talked for over an hour. Kelly was more clear-eyed about the situation than I expected. She had no illusions about Mike's character after seeing how he handled the pregnancy, but she was focused on creating the best possible life for her child. She had agreed to move because Mike offered enough financial support to allow her to go back to school while raising the baby. "I don't love the situation," she admitted. "But I'm trying to be practical. A steady income and a drama-free life seem better than fighting for a relationship with a man who clearly doesn't want one." I respected her pragmatism, but something about the whole arrangement felt wrong. "What will you tell your child about their father?" She sighed. "I haven't figured that out yet. I'm hoping by the time it matters, I'll have the right answer. After meeting Kelly, I felt even more certain that I had made the right decision in refusing to go along with Mike's plan. But the cost has been high. My relationship with my parents is strained at best. Most of our extended family believes I'm an irresponsible deadbeat. Some friends have taken Mike's side, others are confused about who to believe, and a few have stood by me despite the rumors. Mike continues to play the role of doting husband to Elaine and excited father-to-be, all while preparing to welcome his first child with Kelly in secret. He acts like nothing has changed between us, like he didn't completely betray my trust and trash my reputation to save his own. Last night, my father called to say I should apologize to Mike and try to make things right. Family has to stick together, he said. Whatever happened with this waitress, it's time to put it behind us, especially now with Elaine expecting. I hung up without responding, too angry to trust myself to speak. I know I did the right thing by refusing to claim paternity from Mike's child. I know that his lies will eventually catch up to him, that a secret this big can't stay buried forever. But right now, it feels like I'm the only one paying the price for his mistake. So I have to ask, am I the a-hole for refusing to cover for my brother, even though it's cost me my family's trust and support? Should I have gone along with his plan for the sake of family peace, or was I right to stand my ground on a matter of principle? Am I the a